What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ Buck with you, and bringing on our good buddy to join us today, Brock Huard. Brock, what is going on, man?
This is kind of fun, DJ. You know, for 2 years, it's role reversal. You come on my show every Wednesday or Tuesday. We kind of move it around up in Seattle. You join.
If I remember. There've only been a couple of those. So it's kind of fun to be on the other end of this, the receiving end. So look forward to it. Good to see you, Buck.
Good seeing you, Brock. Long time.
Yeah, he's spoiled, man. Like, you know, I feel I'm with Buck. He's a Dodger fan, so he just wins every year. And now Brock's up in the sports capital of the world right now. They got baseball, they got football. They're, kind of crushing it up there. But Brock, one reason I wanted to have you on is because to me, I think the Seahawks are a fascinating study. We always talk about team building and, scouting and trying to make this whole matrix come together and work. And it seems like they have long had the right general manager. We've known John for a long time. Bucky's been around him more than I have, but there's, tremendous respect for him around the league. I want to know more about Coach Macdonald and how this marriage has worked with those two guys and how he's been able to be a perfect fit there.
Yeah, I think what John said, just on and off the record over the years in that process of hiring Mike was, and it's a business term you hear and it's popular and everybody loves to use that in the terms of disruptor. Mm-hmm. He's a disruptor. And there were a lot of folks and a lot of his buddies, McVay and Shanahan and the folks in the NFC and Les Snead and the rest of them were like, come on, John, hire Liam. Hire the next Kevin O'Connell, hire the next offensive guy, hire somebody from our tree, have them try to tangle with us. And I just think John knew that in this division to try to handle in a division that, by the way, has just been unbelievable this season. He just knew that in order to tackle Shanahan and McVay, that he was going to have to disrupt the operation and disrupt their operation and do it with somebody that I think in many ways from a process, the more time I spend with Mike, I've always been around offensive guys. I was an offensive guy, right? And he does the exact same thing, but on the defensive side. And, you guys would have loved this. I asked him one time in one of our Monday mornings that we interview him every week. And I said, do you approach it like Gary Patterson used to approach it at TCU, where you try to defeat every play? Because I get a sense that you're more about defeating that play caller in that play than it is we just run our system. We're just a quarter system, or we just run, camp two. And he said, yeah, I'm probably more bent that way. And he's kind of bent like an offensive guy and play caller, but doing it from the defensive side and doing it in a way, guys, that very few in the league, I think, have the horsepower to match.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, Brock, having watched the team up close and personal when they came down to Jacksonville, being on field level, watching that defense, which is young, athletic, they're hungry, they have marquee players at key spots. How has he been able to take young and old, blend them together, and get them to play on the same page? Because that's not very easy to do in this league.
No. And I think one of the biggest surprises, and man, we talk about this team every day, all day, every week and have. So I don't want to, get past some of the details or just make any assumptions. But the biggest surprise is DeMarcus Lawrence. I just didn't think he had this much in the tank, Bucky. Like, I knew he's a great player. He was a Boise. He's long. He still looks like a giant. I didn't know that he was this good. And this good as a teammate, this good in that room, this good as a player, this much just juice, chasing down plays, playing like he's on a first-year contract, let alone 12 years into this league. He is an enormous force for them defensively and Cooper Kupp offensively. Like those two guys there, I'll use that word horsepower again. DeMarcus got more on the field than Cooper has left. Father Time's definitely caught Cooper's speed and some of that, but not his brain and not his mind and not the way he processes and works and shares that just palatable information with those guys. Those two have been just enormous adds to, other than that, what is a remarkably young football team.
In your experience, just been around the game as long as you have, the teams you've played on, the teams you've been around, and then seeing this team, I'm curious because talk to GMs from other sports, and I've had discussion about the trade deadline, and we've talked about how look, you have your nucleus, you have your key guys, and then we like trying to find those little pieces of glue that can kind of put the whole thing together. They did a phenomenal job with Raheed Shaheed and what he's been able to add to this offense. But I want to kind of couple that together with having the nucleus of this roster. You mentioned Tank Lawrence and Cooper Kupp. It seems like to me, John's got a great feel for finding the little pieces of glue to kind of put this whole thing together.
Yeah, and I think he would be the first to tell you guys that he would shower his analytics team, his scouts, his personnel department. He never makes it about John, which I think is a bit unique and has allowed him to be there for 2 decades through different coaches and owners and presidents and everything else because he's egoless. I think he would tell you, and this is back to the Macdonald acquisition, he would tell you that he knew he was really good, that he knew he'd be a disruptor, that he knew the process and all that was remarkable. But what he has learned over these now less than 2 years together is how he knows exactly what he wants with the grocery list. Mm-hmm. And you guys were in organizations, and I don't think that's always the case. And fair or unfair to the Joe Shane and the Giants and watching that Hard Knocks, which I don't think any team will ever do again in the offseason. Listening to they hired a new D coordinator and he sat in that room with all the scouts for 40 minutes and was like, I need this and I need this and I need this. Macdonald loves that stuff. It's why he was at the Senior Bowl. It's why he was at the draft. It's why he always will be, because he wants to be right next to John. Like, this is what I'm looking for. This is what we need. And there's a clarity there that, and this is not to bash Coach Carroll. He's wired differently. Everyone's great. Oh, Bucky could play outside and for me. Look at those arms. Look at the length. I'll make this guy great. I'll make everybody great. Like everything's awesome. Mike's not that way. It's like, no, this is what I need. Very blunt. Very concise, very clear, just clear messaging. And I think John would be the first to tell you that those inputs are why they hit on the glue, why they hit on the veterans, why they hit in this draft at a rate that was remarkable this offseason.
It's so interesting to hear that, having worked in Seattle under John when you were there playing, having watched the evolution of the Seahawks, look from Coach Holmgren to the Legion of Boom to the iteration that we have now. I always wondered about the changes in culture. So when you talk about Pete Carroll being super positive and those things, and then the clarity with which Mike Macdonald operates, give us a little more insight in terms of the culture that exists in the locker room and how it plays out on the field.
Yeah, I think that MOB is a big deal. It's not the LOB, and it's internal, and it just kind of come out as the years evolve. But that mission over BS, it's about the mission, man. It's not about any of this other stuff. And your veterans have really laid that. When DeMarcus plays that hard, Bucky, when he plays like he's an undrafted free agent, truly, like chasing things down, throwing his body, when Byron and Leonard and Ernest and these guys, and some of them that do have seasoning, play like Nicky Minwari and Devin with their hair on fire. It's like, man, that's, you got it, right? You got it. And I think it was Coach Dungy. It's been said many times, and I firmly believe this through my, years of watching it and watching this group defined by defense like they were in the previous iteration. And that is, you don't just see it, you hear it, and you see it and you see great length. See great speed, see great closing of space. That's very unique. I think it's them and the Texans, maybe the Broncos, the Rams up front. But there's very few that close space the way that they do and as violently as they do. But you hear them, man. You just hear them talking. You hear them hanging with each other, right? I remember when Bob Whitsitt came in and some of the friction with Mike, and Bob wanted all the pictures down. It's going to be a sterile environment. This is a work environment. It's not a play environment. We're here to work. And it was okay, great. I'm working and get out. I don't want to be here. This environment's 180. And that's continued from Coach Carroll. No, I want guys to be here. We want to give them every resource. We want the best facilities. We want the best of the best. And those guys do care about each other. And you hear it. You hear it. It's genuine. It's not just talk. And you also hear some violence. These dudes are violent on a football field, and they like it that way.
Yeah, I've talked about this with Buck, and I think we even talked about it as well, Brock. But to me, the underrated aspect of defense right now is the physicality of the tackling. And you can do it legally. You're not getting headshots. You're not getting penalties. But when you watch a Texans game or you watch a Seahawks game, it's different. Like the tackling is different. There is a physicality and a violence to it. And I think it speaks to the culture they've created there. I want to get to the other side while we've got you. Mm-hmm. Can we go on the time machine, go back to what the decision was at the time that brought Sam Darnold in there? What were the other options and what led them to believe, and rightly so, that Sam was the best way to go?
Yeah, I believe you were in Indianapolis. Both of you men probably were. And I believe you heard some of those rumblings, DJ. And I think we talked about it off the air a little more than on the air. Like, whoa, this could go down. Like, this is not a shot at Geno and DK. But I think the reality is, like, for their MOB, like, those were going to be pivots they had to make. And, when Geno's last training camp, not happy about his deal, and maybe spends a day pouting about it, and the groin flared up or a knee flared up, like, that's not MOB, When DK grabs the headset and puts it on and is screaming in game at the offensive coordinator to get him the ball, like, that's not MOB, And I think as Mike, first year climbing the learning curve and all that he wanted to do culturally and all the ways he wanted to go, those were a couple pivots that, hey, if the market was right and the conditions were right, we're going to be willing to be bold. I mean, John's bold. He did it with Russell. Like, if I could do it with Russell, what is Geno and DK, And I think that emboldened him and empowered him and built equity and trust with Jody Allen and Chuck Arnold and the organization. Like, yeah, we got to make these hard pivots sometimes. Frankly, maybe we didn't pivot away fast enough from some of that crew that aged, right, in 15 and 16 and 17. So I think he had a lot of equity in the bank to make those moves. And when the market conditions were right, I think playing against Sam late in the year, as they did, also helped, right? Sam made an unbelievable throw, getting hit right in the mouth to Jefferson to win that game and really knock the Seahawks out of the playoffs and propelled Minnesota. And like, woo, this guy incubated well down there in San Francisco. We kind of like this guy. And man, has that just paid obviously enormous dividends.
Let's continue to extend on the Sam Darnold conversation, because Klint Kubiak comes over. And what's interesting, everyone talks about Sam Darnold and what has happened in terms of the passing game, but this is a team that still runs it more than they throw it. Yeah. Let's just talk about the system helping Sam Darnold become the best version of himself in Seattle.
Bucky, DJ has gotten to know my co-host for the last couple of years, one Michael Salk. And Michael may have, because of his upbringing and roots, may have a little more cynicism than the passive aggressive, very non-cynical Pacific Northwest guy, right? So we've worked and clashed and molded a lot more. I think I've become more cynical. He's become a little less. But we heard for 10 years about this new O-line coach. Ooh, yeah, this new scheme. Oh, here comes Schottenheimer. Here comes Mike Solari. Here comes, and he's heard it like, this is going to fix the O-line, and this is going to fix the O-line. It's like, I'm done. I'm just done. I'm not going to believe anything you got to say. I gotta see it, and they got to go and produce. And Mike's not alone in that, by the way. That's most Seahawks fans. It's a struggle for 10 years. Oh, we'll take this D lineman and we'll make him an offensive guard, and we'll take this scrap heap and we'll go cheap. And we don't think there's enough value to draft this guy this high, and da. And I'll tell you that if you were to go in the Wayback Machine, I think one of the most exciting things about this Kubiak hire was what he brought with him. Equally, what scares me is if he goes to Atlanta, and I think there's a high prospect of that, what he takes with him out of Seattle, because that intellectual, institutional knowledge of Rick Dennison, of John Benton, of all those guys that are so versed in it, so convicted in it. We had not had that like this. Shotty came in, but it was working with the other pieces that were there. He came in and brought his infantry with him. And man, have they done a phenomenal job. This is not the best offensive line in the league, but when you want to talk about youngest and best and merge those two, there's nobody, right? Charles just got his extension. Abe just got his extension the last offseason. Sable's on a first year. Sundell's on a first year. Bradford's on a first year. Like, who has that in the league playing also at this level at 14-3. Nobody does. And man, after a decade of whining and complaining and crying about this offensive line, they have turned the corner. And I think those men deserve a ton of credit for it.
Absolutely. And a lot of high picks in there and hitting on those. So it's a compliment to John, the scouting department, for being able to identify those guys, and then a coaching staff that's been able to make them work and fit in what they're doing. I was thinking about this the other day. I'm going through watching all these college guys and trying to get all my draft prep. And as it stands right now, and I've got more to do, but I think 4 of my top 8 players are Ohio State Buckeyes. And the Ohio State Buckeyes lost in the Big Ten championship game, and then they got bounced by Miami in the playoff. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, this is where roster construction comes into play. You've got linebackers, receivers, safeties. They didn't have tackles. They could not block those 2 guys at Miami, and all the other stuff is fantastic.
That's right.
If you don't take that, I mean, to me, it's a great. And Seattle's another example of that. I've always said, Brock, it's hard to have a bad team with a great offensive line, or at least a bad offense with a great offensive line. Yeah. They seem like they're testament to that.
Well, it's half your offense, right? I mean, it's 5 of the 11 guys right there. That group, my favorite teams I've ever been a part of. My Husky team with Olin Kreutz and Benji Olsen, like, oh my gosh, it was like, whoa, let's go, right? You could feel, you break the huddle and you could feel it on the other side. Most of them are like, it's not going to be fun. Like you get that vibe. Even with the Seahawks, Bucky, and you were around it when you had Hutch and Walt, right? Like, oh, this is just not going to be fun. And I'm not going to put Charles and Gray in that category. You're talking about 2 of the greatest to ever do it in the history of the game in Hutch and Walt. But I will tell you, behind the scenes, and maybe you guys already know this, but like Steve Hutchinson, he's got Schneider's ear. And John really leans into Hutch. He's worked and consulted for them for a number of years. And when you talk about like standing on the table, from my understanding, is that Hutch said, John, don't you dare not draft Gray Zabel. Don't you dare get cute. Don't you dare trade down. Don't you dare. You like this other kid out of Arizona. I get it. But don't you dare pass on this guy if he is sitting there at 18. Because I think in Gray, honestly, Hutch sees some of himself. Like, this guy's really bright. This guy really bends. This guy really runs. This guy's really fun. And he's going to work with this left tackle like Hutch did with Walt, who barely said 2 words. Like, he's going to work with Charles, and he's going to grow them and improve them. And these two have a chance to dance now for a bunch of years together. And it's going to be fun to watch in Seattle.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. It's really fun to watch your wide receiver one. DJ was talking about Ohio State. I don't know if there's ever been a more underrated, underappreciated number 1 receiver in the league than JSN. This dude had over 1,700 yards. And I believe, watching his tape, man, he made pass some guys as number 1. Just talk about his ascension, his growth over a 3-year period to being the player that he is right now.
You know what's wild, Bucky, is I think he's younger than almost every Indiana Hoosier starter on their current college football team. Seriously, I think he's 23. I mean, it's incredible to do that. He would tell you, and I've got a good buddy that knows him, has known him a long time in their family and really connected with the Seahawks. And he'd be the first to say Cooper Kupp was, and I don't think John signed Cooper Kupp for JSN. I think he signed Cooper Kupp for the system and for all that he would bring. But man, like if it was just for JSN's development alone, you'd be like, that's a great signing. Let alone some of the third down conversions and the blocking and all the other impact he's had on everybody. But for JSN to look at Cooper and go, whoa, like this guy did that. You look up at JSN season and what was it, top 10 all time in the history of the league in yardage. But up above him was a guy named Cooper Kupp, like from 4 years ago, that doesn't move quite like JSN and doesn't have, some of the body control and the lower body strength of JSN, yet had almost 1,900 yards or 1,800 yards in his MVP caliber season. So Cooper has been enormous of all the intricacies, all the details, all the nuances, all the elements, all of the study, all of the high powered things that I don't think every talented receiver always grasps. They don't have to. I don't have to do that. That's great, Cooper. You have to do that, right? You run 4.7. Like, you have to do that. I don't have to do that. But if I run 4.4 or 5 and got my body control and I do what you do and I take all those components and add it to my game, I can be filthy, which is exactly what he's been this year.
Oh, it's been fun to watch, man. You've been generous with your time, buddy. It's great to hang out with you. Last one, and then I'll let you run. Big Dumper, does he get over 50 next year, or are we looking at more of like a 42 Jax next year?
I think you're talking more mid 40s. Yeah, I think that's I don't know.
That's a big number, man, for a catcher. That was unbelievable.
It was insane. Like insane. Like we talk about these numbers and Megatron's all-time receiving record, right? And these other guys got close. Mm-hmm. They got close. The all-time catcher home run record was Salvi at 45. And he hit 60. Like, what are we doing?
Lucky doesn't even know this, Brock, because he's never watched anything except the last 3 innings of the Dodger game.
No. One, I love the nickname. One, I just where we go with the Dumper at. Like I've loved it, and I like the fact that he did it. But I'm sorry, DJ, my baseball watching extends until late October. I'm just so used to that. I'm just so used to it. You know. Like
shot fired.
Well, if we're gonna extrapolate money to bodies, remember the last time you went to an open gym, Brock, and you're picking teams, and you say, "I'll take these 3, you get those 5." Yeah, that's kind of what it is.
Pretty much, boys.
This is what we devolve into every time. All right, Brock. Hey, dude, we appreciate it. I know you're busy. I'm looking forward to watching these Seahawks, and we'll have you on as we get towards the draft. I want to talk some quarterbacks once we get to that point.
That'll be fun, man. It'll be violent. This Saturday night, it's going to be. To your point, like Houston and Pittsburgh, Monday night was Saturday night. These two don't like each other at all. A lot of the players don't like each other at all, and this is going to be some fireworks in Lumen.
I stepped wrong on a curb about 2 months ago, and my ankle still feels a little wobbly. And I watched Fred Warner running it around like he just got a paper cut breaking his ankle.
Yeah,
it's a little different.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, buddy. We'll see you next time.
You bet. See you, boys.
Well, there he goes, Buck. Brock Huard, phenomenal guy. And we will get a chance to talk with him because he knows the college game inside and out, too. We'll get a chance to talk about what I was going to say, all the quarterbacks. But are there any quarterbacks? Which is another conversation for another day. As Dante Moore has gone back to college, by the way. Real quick, give me your 30-second thought on that one.
Smart move. And I felt like it was going to be necessary, particularly after watching the Indiana game. Like we've talked about, like time on task, starts. 20 starts is not enough to get ready. And if you look at the bust rate, quarterbacks that come into the league with 20 or fewer starts, like you just go down a list of names that have had struggles in the NFL. If he's thinking about long-term success, this was the best move for him. And give Oregon credit, having another one in the pipeline and Dylan Raiola to come in and red shirt, sit on the bench, however you want to call it, to watch Dante Moore go, to set him up for some long-term success by having more time on task in college.
I'll just hit you with this one real quick. I would say an idea that's been thrown out there, or one of the criticisms of the decision, was you could have been the second quarterback, second pick in this draft, and next year looks like we could have a boatload of quarterbacks, and you might be the fourth or fifth quarterback. And I would just refute that real quickly. Josh Allen wasn't the top quarterback picked in his class. Lamar Jackson in that same draft class, way down the line at the bottom of the first round. Drake May, the likely MVP of the league, was third in his group. Bo Nix is the number 1 seed. Broncos was down the line, was the 6th quarterback. Yeah. So to me, you're going to go in the first round. You're going to go to potentially a better team if you're just going to slide. And in first, second, third, fourth, it doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter. You're going to go in the first round and you're going to have a great opportunity.
Yeah, I think for him, it is about understanding it and listening and reading about him and what he learned from UCLA. I think he felt like all the pressure said, hey, I need to come over here, jump on the field. And then what he realized is, oh, no, I'm not quite ready for the challenges that are ahead. Let me become better prepared. Let me get better at my craft. And I think the Indiana game was maybe another reminder in terms of how far I need to go to get ready. Because I'm going to tell you, the pictures that Indiana was showing, when I went to the game on Sunday, the Jags in Buffalo was changing the picture. And if you're a young quarterback having to deal with that change and you're not familiar, it's going to lead to some ugly football. So I applaud him for being able to do that. For him, for other guys that want to jump out and it's about, hey, I want to go early, that's great. But really, it should be about long-term success. And I think this will give him a chance at long-term success as a pro.
Yeah, and in terms of this draft class, look, it's not going to be sexy in terms of the number of quarterbacks. It's a solid draft. Again, a lot of starters to be found in this draft. But man, I'm telling you, the 26 college football season might be the best we've had in a long time. There are so many good teams with key players in key roles, and it's going to lead us to the 27 draft, which is going to be star-studded. And it is not just quarterbacks. Everybody's, you guys overrate the quarterbacks every year. No, not just quarterbacks. We're talking Jeremiah Smith. We're talking pass rushers out the wazoo from Texas and from South Carolina. Like, we are going to have a show in the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. So I'm excited about this draft. We'll get some good players. We'll talk about them over the next several months, Buck, but I'm already geeked up for the 26 college season and the 27 draft.
Well, yeah, like this is a byproduct of revenue share and NIL, where guys, not only the timing, where some of these guys are going to be true 3-year players that are coming out, but some guys are electing to stay, which is a better thing because more experience leads to better expertise, which should lead to an easier transition when you get to the pros. I'm excited about, not only this class, but next year's class is absolutely loaded, and it's not just a quarterback. All right, Buck, before we get out of here, we don't have a ton of time left, but preview real quick. Just a couple thoughts here. We talked a lot about Seattle and what to anticipate in a very physical matchup against San Francisco with Brock Huard. But let's get to these other games here. Let's start, first of all, what you're looking forward to, Buffalo, Denver in the AFC. Look, man, Josh Allen and company, can they take the show on the road? Coming out of the Jacksonville game, I felt like either one of the teams, the team that won was going to have a great chance to go to the Super Bowl. I came away more impressed with Buffalo than I have in the entire season, not only because of the way Josh Allen played. People were talking about, hey, he was at an MVP level during that game. I would say the reason he performed at a high level is because he really leaned into taking care of the football, playing smart football. I would say even managing the game. And then Sean McDermott, his defensive wizardry, being able to change the picture and make things really difficult for Trevor Lawrence. I think he can take that same game plan and do a lot to mess up Bo Nix and that rhythm. And you have to remember this about the Broncos. Their offense has been scattershot throughout the year. If this is a game that is not like a shootout, I don't know if they can get to a point where they can catch up with Josh Allen if Josh Allen has this offense rolling. I think the magic number is 24. If the Buffalo Bills get to 24, I think the Buffalo Bills advance.
There's a lot of speed over there on Denver's defense. You look at the receiver depletion for the Bills. I don't love that. To me, this is a Cook game, man. You got to get Cook get that ground game going. I think this could be an aggressive Josh Allen run game too. I'll pull out all the stops there. I think they want to make this a physical fight on that side of the ball, and then you flip it over to the other side. Defending the second play. If you can defend the second play with Bo Nix, it's not the initial play as it's called. It's his ability to get outside of structure, scramble for first downs, make plays on the move. That's going to be the key. If they're going to somehow go up there and knock off Denver, Denver's going to be well rested. They're going to be fast on that defensive side of the ball. So it's physicality on offense for Buffalo. And then on the other side, it's defending that second play, in my opinion.
Yeah, like it is a second play because Bo Nix is terrific. Also, maybe a little tempo because the Bills are shorthanded on offense and defense. Maybe the Broncos play a little faster than they've played traditionally throughout the course of the regular season. Bo Nix has been at his best when they've operated no huddle at a breakneck speed. Maybe the Broncos utilize a little bit of that, given the extra week to prepare.
All right, how about let's go the final game there in the AFC, Texans, Patriots.
Man, this is a head knocker. I mean, this is everything that Brock talked about, physicality and violence. This Texans defense, to me, is the best in the league. And they can do it in simplistic fashion from a scheme standpoint, but because they're so good. Pass rushers, corners, Mike linebackers, safety, they're good all over. To me, this defense is going to have to play well. They're going to have to make life miserable for Drake May. They're going to have to keep the score down because I don't know how many points they're going to be able to score. C.J. Stroud has been off a little bit. I think this defense is going to have to do the heavy lifting for them to win in New England.
Don't want to be in third and longs, which is going to put a huge emphasis on their ability to stay ahead of the sticks on first down. And that's trying to get some quick rhythm throws for Drake May. That's getting the run game going. I think you'll know how this game is going early on. If they're able to get into 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6, okay, New England's, they have a chance to stay in this thing. It sounds weird as the home team with a higher seed, but if they are getting 1 yard, or they're losing a yard on first down, and they're going to pin their ears back. And guess what? The screen game's not going to work, Buck, because they're only rushing 4. There's another whole layer of the defense to take care of the screen game. So you've got to stay ahead, and that might be throwing the ball on first down, like just trying to stay ahead on first down. I think that's huge emphasis for New England.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs needs to be big for the New England Patriots. They're going to need him to be able to win some of those one-on-one matchups. And this is a big out. Nico Collins not being able to play for the Texans, out with a concussion. How are they going to manufacture points without their number one receiver there? So we talk about another low-scoring affair. This plays right into the Texans' hands, even though I still tend to think that Mike Vrabel will find a way to get it done at home.
Well, you look at the Patriots defense played great last week against the Chargers. They've got to turn Stroud over. Stroud's done it. I mean, he turned it over. If Stroud's got to play better than he did against Pittsburgh, he can't give them those opportunities because Drake May will cash those in. Pittsburgh was unable to do so. To me, shorter fields, turning him over, I think that's going to be key. And Stroud's got to play a lot better on the Houston side of things. So really looking forward to that matchup. Should be a fun one. How about this one? Weather could be gnarly in Chicago. I did not know. I don't know why I was unaware of the Stafford, poor weather game stats that have all been floating around the internet here. I don't know if I'm 100% buying in on that, telling us what's going to happen in this game, because I think they are going to be able to run the ball and have some balance against the Bears.
Yeah, like balance is everything. I mean, DJ, we can talk about all the previews to the game, but what matters is the fourth quarter. Will the Rams be able to stop Caleb Williams and the Bears in the fourth quarter? No matter what the margin is, the Bears are going to find a way to creep back into the game. And will they be able to get stops when Caleb Williams is doing what he does well? 7 game-winning drive, fourth quarter comebacks. When he is able to play off schedule and just kind of get in the backyard and do a little sandlot football, this is when the Bears are at their most dangerous. I like the fact that Ben Johnson has been practicing the team outside, no heaters. Let's get acclimated to the weather. The weather is a factor. I don't care how much you prepare for it. Nothing in Southern California can make you prepare for the Windy City in these environments. But Matthew Stafford also being a great close. This could be great. Two quarterbacks that can close it out in the fourth quarter. That's what I want to see, the duel between Stafford and Williams in the fourth.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it, man. It'll be interesting to see, can the Bears, can they block the Rams up front? That's going to be the challenge for them in the pass game. I think they'll be able to run it a little bit with their backs and their physicality. Again, though, can they block them? And then, if it's close in the fourth quarter, it's hard to, if you're the Bears, you're like, okay, we got them right where we want them, the way they've been able to close things out. But I hope it is. I hope it comes down to the end, because I'm looking forward to seeing that matchup there in the NFC. All right, Buck, that's going to do it for us. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. Again, our thanks to Brock Huard. Appreciate his time today. And we'll see you next week right here on Move the Sticks.